Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bxb'S bonus Babble episode 14. It's the post Xbox conference wrap up show, and holy shit, do we have a lot to talk about. So, unlike last night's show, in which we had lots of stuff to go over with the news and games we've been playing, this is just going to be about Xbox, but they have not left us wanting for content. That's for sure. I'm just going to get straight into it. Joel's with me, like he was last night.
Hey.
So if you're ready, man, I'll just kick us off with the brief tease we got. The brief tease we got right at the opening of the show. The first thing they showed, Halo Infinite, and it was a great little tease because you were wondering what you were looking at, and then you started to see things that made you think Halo, the blue, the music, and then we got some slightly forerunnery bits, and then we saw Marines and hardware, and then we got what looked like a Spartan helmet. And we don't really know much more about what this game is at this point, other than it's Halo, it's Infinite, it's coming at some point, probably the end of next year, if I was a betting man. Joel, what did you think of this little tease?
I'm quite surprised. So, the minute they played the first note of music, I was like, Halo, straight away. Instantly, I knew exactly what.
Kind of in my gut, I felt that, but I kind of didn't want to.
It was when they showed the deer. When they showed the deer, I was like, "Oh, this is."
And the rhino, I was like,
"Yeah, this isn't." Oh, maybe I've got this wrong.
Yeah,
but the music's so Halo, and it was a pretty buff-looking deer as well. It was really sculpted.
Hench deer.
Yeah. Anyway,
only in Halo.
And then obviously it fleshed out and it was Halo. That was the only thing that put doubt in my mind. At first I was like, this is Halo, and then it's like, hold on, no, this is Zoo Tycoon 2.
So immediately that comes up and Richard starts crowing in our group chat about how he gets to reboot. I'm not sure what we're looking at is a reboot. I think it's more likely a share world shooter, so something along the lines of a Destiny, almost like an MMO feel, a shared experience game, which is why it wasn't focusing on the Chief. And I think what you're not seeing there probably isn't the Chief, but it's rather Spartans and Spartan armor of the type that Chief used. So I think we're still going to get, Halo 6. 5 was left on a cliffhanger. They're going to finish that story, but this is the indication that there's more coming from the Halo universe. And yeah, bring it. Bring it. We're going on very little at the moment. Anything you wanted to add?
Only that I think the keys in the title, Infinite, is the key word there, I think. And that's why I think I'm on board with you. I think this might be a Destiny style sort of ongoing experience, basically. So yeah, let's wait and see.
Yeah, it got me. It certainly set the show off the right note. I was immediately hyped, whooping, excited, fist bumping and stuff. I was there, 14 again, excited for that first Xbox or whenever it was, something like that. When the first Xbox came out, with the first Halo, so it took me back, immediately excited. They then came out and they sort of crowed about how many games they were going to be showing and how many were exclusives and things of that nature. So I think they said it was 50 games, 18 exclusives, and 15 world premieres. And let's be honest, they then did that, didn't they? I mean, this was the most packed 90 minutes of conference I think I've ever seen. In the past, when Xbox has promised lots of games and then they've shown a lot of indie stuff, that was not the case this year. There was a few indie bits in there, like the bigger indie stuff, but this was game after game after game, and then sandwiching in some great announcements as well. So I guess, unless you wanted to mention anything in a general sense, we'll just keep going.
No, should we go through in order?
So I'm looking at my tweet stream, which was basically mostly me retweeting stuff as it happened rather than writing them out myself. But we then got the sort of announcement of the From Software game that was teased last year, which is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, which looks like a sort of samurai, made me think a bit of Ninja Gaiden on Onimusha, things like that nature. And you had that very Souls-esque big bosses, and the combat looked very involved and difficult. And I immediately thought to myself, I'm going to hate this because it's going to be way too hard for me. So how did you take from that? What did you think of all that?
So my notes are exactly like from software ... dirt. Like obviously that's the developer, but yeah, it's obviously all software. That's why in joke. Activision publishing it. Yeah, kind of had like a...
Yeah, I guess the Activision thing's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's not the usual From Software thing, is it? It's a Sony joint usually. So them said that they've gone multi-platform with this one.
And yeah, like it had kind of a... Yeah, I think I share your sentiments. It seemed like a bit of an open world maybe vibe to it. It was a bit hard to tell. The world looked big, but it was hard to see how free you were to move around it. I don't know how linear the game may be and stuff, but yeah, it looked interesting. Kind of, I had a feel like it reminded me a bit of Castlevania Lord of Shadows.
Oh, okay.
If you ever played that, which was quite a... the game itself was quite linear and there wasn't too much exploration, but it actually it had a huge grand sense of scale. So yeah, kind of reminded me of that.
Okay, cool. We then had Tom Howard come out with one of the more naturalistic sort of, I'm a big developer, but I've been on stages a lot now, so I actually know how to speak without looking like a wooden, terrified, startled animal. And he just made a really good joke about, Phil mentioned he'd had some mates come over, and I thought I'd pop round and see what was going on, and I liked that. And he then sort of showed what can only be described really as another teaser trailer for Fallout 76. It didn't really tell us what the game is. He told us that the world was 4 times bigger, and then we got to see a much more lush and vibrant Fallout world. So I'm curious to see how that works and why it's as alive as it looks. And maybe it's just part of the US that didn't get hit with as many nukes or something, but I was quite surprised to see much less wasteland.
So it's set in West Virginia, the only 2 notes I got: 4 times size of Fallout 4, and then my final note is, so what is it? ? We still don't know. Is this a traditional Fallout game? Is it something else? I mean, I know, is it Jason Schreier? I don't know how you pronounce his last name, from Kotaku, has been tweeting that his internal contacts tell him that it's not a Fallout game in the traditional context, but we still don't really know what that means. So the only thing I can think of is, well, if it's not a traditional Fallout game, what is it that still was sold to us like a traditional Fallout game, just on a grander scale? So
the only thing I can tell you is, in just over 3 hours' time, I'll know. So I suppose we'll know very, very shortly when Bethesda goes 2:30 a.m. UK time, and I'm going to be mad and stay up for that. After that, we got something. God damn it, we were talking about this last night. Don't Nod are the busiest fucking indie developer on the planet right now, because they've decided to make a game set in the Life is Strange universe, a small game, I'm getting the impression of, that's going to be completely free. And that comes out later this summer, and it's called Captain Spirit. It
comes out June 26th. It comes out in a few weeks. It's really this is close.
It's a freebie as well. I thought that was cool. And they made a point of saying, like, totally free, no caveats, no weird shit. You're just gonna get this game. So
I like the look of it. I like the kind of plot. Did you? It resonated with me. It was kind of like, exactly.
It had heart. I felt like it's got maybe a bit more of a universal appeal compared to Life is Strange, in that indie sense, that it's not all about a teenage girl with crazy time traveling powers. It just seems to be about a kid dealing with loss, dealing with having a single father who's struggling, and him like visualizing and dealing with those emotional problems in quirky and interesting ways. It looks very indie, but with a good budget, and if it's got good writing, which it looked to have, and good character and good acting, then it'll be definitely worth playing. And why wouldn't you for free? Why wouldn't you try it? So I'm down with some Captain Spirit. Then we got a confirmation of the rumor, which was Nier Automata is coming to Xbox One and will be X enhanced, and that's also later this month. Good. More people should play that very, very, very
looking forward to that
Japanese game.
I didn't pick it up on the PlayStation. This could be my point I jump in of. It's a game I wanted to play. I've seen so much positive stuff about it. So I think this may be where I jump on board.
Yeah, no, absolutely. By the way, jump in at any time if I miss anything.
Yeah, you did. You did. You missed. You've missed two things so far. You missed Ori and the Will of the Wisps, but
right, okay.
I just put again in brackets with an exclamation mark. So
delayed.
Yeah,
by the way, to 2019. Without anything more finite on it.
Yeah. And Crackdown 3 again.
No, I had that coming up next. I think I just got those two switched out.
Yeah, you got the order the wrong way around, I think.
But Crackdown 3, which was just Terry Crews shouting, and a confirmation of the delay into February, like every other game on the fucking surface of the planet right now, is coming out in February. I mean, at this point, I'm really thinking that some of these games need to get delayed out of February because it's just bonkers.
Start saving. If you want to play all these games, start saving.
What was it? I just saw
your money and your holiday at work.
I just saw another announcement that of a game that's coming out in February. I'm just trying to find it. It wasn't that one. It might have been Metro, actually. I'm not sure. It was something like that.
I didn't catch the date for Metro.
But anyway, Crackdown looking a bit better, looking a little bit more fleshed out. Better visuals than last year. They're not sort of perceptibly that different. It feels like they're really leaning heavy on Terry Crews as a character in this. And great. He's a lot of fun. And I thought the trailer was fun, if a bit like they overplayed their hand on the gag a tiny bit. But I enjoyed it. What did you think?
I've never played any of the Crackdown games.
Oh, mate, so you need to pick up the original and backwards compatible. It's really good.
I feel like I'm missing out on a sort of key thread, really, that these trailers are trying to play on, basically. Because I look at them and I'm just like, yeah, it's just a dude shouting a lot, and I get the kind of character and stuff, but and then I see the actual gameplay unfold. It's just like, well, you can change to a tank, and so can you actually really change like that instantaneously in Crackdown games and stuff? Can you just
it's different in the previous ones. In the previous ones, as you leveled up your driving skill, the vehicles you would get into would like transform and improve, and they would transform visually, kind of like a transformer would. So you'd get in like the sports car, and it would go through multiple stages of this transformation. It would be like you get sleeker and flatter, and then it would get to the full level, like the furthest level of transformation, where it could like drive under other people's cars and flip them as it was driving along and stuff. And yeah, there was like a tank equivalent and stuff like that as well. So yeah, and it's all about Crackdown's all about collecting things that physically alter you and improve you and like make you even more powerful as you go along. So that's the loop of the game. Is you're finding these orbs and doing these things that constantly make you better. And that's what they're leaning on there with the Crackdown 3. It doesn't feel like they're doing much. There doesn't seem to be much unique about this compared to like the original Crackdown. So I'm not really sure what it is still. I'm sure it'll be fun, but I don't really know why they're making such a big deal out of it almost. But anyway, we got Metro Exodus came next, and I am so excited to be stepping back into the shoes of RTM and getting out into that wasteland. The theme of the games right now is wastelands of varying types, but I loved Metro's Wasteland. I loved the simmy element to it, you know, the having to think about radiation and putting on the filters for the gas masks and stuff, and managing your bullets, which are also your currency, and all of those elements. And it's got such a different tone to it as a world. I'm just as excited now for that as I was last year when they first announced it. I think it's going to be fantastic, and it looked really good. Like really interesting visuals and just looked very polished. What did you think of that? Have you played the Metro games?
I played one of them a little bit, but I'm not going to pretend I played it for that long. The first one, is it Metro
2033, and then it's Metro Last Light.
No, Last Light I played about.
So you played the second one.
Hours of.
You didn't even play the first one.
Of course.
Okay, right. You should, Joel, go back. Like honestly, mate. Like they are that first game in that. Have you got that pack on Xbox? It's always on sale. I think it's on sale right now. The Metro pack, both of them on Xbox.
I played it on the Atomic actually, because it's on that. So I think it may even be on Game Pass. Actually,
yeah, probably
as well.
Yeah.
I love the way you say go back. That is just all I want to do is to go back to a time where I had more time.
I know. I
would
make it sound so fucking easy, and I'm somebody who doesn't have time to finish games as they come out, let alone go back and finish games. And I know it must be frustrating when people tell you things like that. But at the same time, there are certain games that I think. But at the same time, Exodus looks like it's going to be fantastic, and Last Light didn't need to play 2033. So I suspect Exodus will be the same thing, that you'll be able to get in there easily enough without playing the previous games. They're just so interesting because they're based in such an interesting, weird world based off a series of books. You know, there's not many games like that. I mean, Witcher comes to mind, but as a unique sort of European / Eastern Bloc inspired thing. And yeah, just tonally, it really sets itself apart. Anyway, I guess we should keep going. Once again, jump in if I miss anything. But I nearly didn't bother mentioning Kingdom Hearts 3 because I just don't care.
I've never played any of the Kingdom Hearts games, but I've got a lot of people who do, and they swear by them as being brilliant. Yep. Brilliant
they really
games.
Do, don't they?
Yeah. And then I see this trailer, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, oh, you know, I've got my son. He knows most of these characters. You know, there's Woody. There's you know, it's from Toy Story. I can't remember his name.
The previous ones weren't Pixar properties at all. So there's all of this going hard on the newer Disney stuff, the Pixar stuff, and the newer princesses, Olaf and stuff from Frozen and things like that. That's a new angle for them. And it actually, to me, it almost looked like a Pixar film. I have to say, I thought the visuals were super impressive. Like they've clearly, it's been in development a really long time, this game. And it's not something we talk about a lot on here just because it's not a property that any of us are particularly interested in as three middle-aged men. I know I'm not, to be fair, I know middle-aged men who love fucking Kingdom Hearts. So that's not fair entirely to stereotype, but it's certainly not my bag. But yeah, I mean, cool. I like the music.
It could be, yeah. And like the other thing is that Disney is not what Disney was like, 3 or 4 years ago. Like it's literally now this force to be feared, isn't it? They how much IP do they own?
All of it.
So yeah, what can you actually, you know, what could be in this game? I mean, they showed you mostly Disney characters and stuff, but
can I ask you a quick question, a personal question, Joel? Are you wearing a Star Wars t-shirt? Because so am I.
Oh,
so yeah, talking about Disney fucking properties, we're repping the baby one together right now. And we did that without even coordinating. That's how nerdy we are. Half my wardrobe is Star Wars t-shirts. But yeah, I mean, I'll move on. Let's not dwell on this. I'm more interested because of the newer properties, I suppose. If they work some Marvel in there, if they work some Star Wars in there, you might even get me playing it. You know, it's that. Let's see. We then got an update on Sea of Thieves and sort of I don't know, the free stuff that's on its way in the next few months. Looked pretty cool, I guess.
There were 2 expansions. I only managed to catch the name of one, the Forsaken Shores.
Yes.
The other one was only shown in the final final quick slide. Like
something sales. Yeah. Something sales. Yeah, I mean, it looks like the right way to take it. Putting AI combatants out on the sea, you know, skeleton ships and things like that. It seems to be the right direction to take that kind of game. Will it bring me back? Unless I hear incredibly positive things, probably not.
I think. Well, I think I think it's got some idea. If we could go back and we could play it, and we could rehearse and practice and become comfortable with the game in an environment that's us more versus the AI than us just encountering other players constantly and just fighting, it would be a bit more. There'd be a bit more. We could actually see what the game's about, and then try and then migrate from like a sort of player versus nothing to a player versus everything kind of, or PvP server, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So perhaps you know, maybe we'll revisit that one. It certainly, I think I say the same sentiments as you. It didn't grow on me. The first experiences we had with it were kind of a reasonable laugh up to a point, but it got kind of a bit boring quite quickly.
Now, you can probably imagine the next game, Joel, had me squealing with excitement. I love my driving games. I've always been a massive...
Oh, no, Ben, you've skipped over a very important one.
Bring that one up after this one, then. Bring that one up after this one. Let me do my bit. Let me do my bit. Because I've already teased it now. squealing with excitement over a driving game. And this was, you know, it was rumored. We knew it was coming. It was a Forza Horizon year. We knew we were getting Forza Horizon 4 this year. It was almost a dead cert. What we didn't know is because the major rumor was it was going to be set in Japan, which I thought was a pretty cool setting, which would be very beautiful and interesting. But you know what's better than fucking Japan, Joel? It's Britain. It's setting Forza Horizon in the UK. I am so excited. The game looked stunning. The locales, I was like, that looked like Wales. That bit looked like Scotland. That looked like Cornwall. I was literally just looking at these events and just thinking they've probably like smashed together all these sort of iconic areas of Britain into one kind of British environment. And it looked amazing. And they've introduced seasons, which is the coolest idea for an open world racing game. So you're going to get changing weather that will affect not just how it looks, but how the cars handle. So snow and autumn with the leaves and spring with the rain and things like that. It looked fantastic. And it's going to be one massive shared open world. I am so excited for October now. I cannot wait for that game to come out, mate. I am pumped. So
October the 2nd and Game Pass at launch, which, you know,
it's huge. It's huge. When you talk about a game of that caliber, that's just incredible. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it looked stunning. I mean, the idea that, the online thing can maybe put people off a little bit. But for me, with a driving game with that, it feels actually quite natural. If you, in a way, to have the roads populated with real people going to races and stuff like that. I don't think it means they're doing away with AI races. It just means when you're just traveling around the open world, not in an event, it will be populated with real drivers. And I think that's really cool. It reminds me of something like Test Drive Unlimited, which I think worked really, really well back in the 360 days, if you remember that one. What did you think of this as less of a racing nut than me?
No, I am a racing nut. I just I've never really played many of the recent racing games because I don't know why. I can't really make an excuse.
You just don't play games, it would seem.
I just
don't play games.
I suffer from a severe lack of time and an absolute like anal nature to want to play with steering wheels and pedals.
Oh, okay, right.
I'm kind of like that kind of committed guy. But it looked really good. To counter your point about the racing in public and other public, I assume the game will have an offline mode. I'm pretty sure it'll be easy to opt out of that kind of stuff, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. It looked quite fun. It looked kind of right up my street, actually.
I can't wait to be driving through locales that I recognize. You know, like those kinds of villages, the cities, the towns, even if it's just inspired by rather than actual recreations. I suspect they're not going to try and do that. The previous Forza games don't really try to make, a photorealistic interpretation of, I think when they were in France or Australia, like Melbourne or something like that. It's more like a location inspired by all the best bits of those places that make them so much fun to drive, and would be so much fun to look at while you're driving. So I am very, very excited about that. What did I miss?
So you missed, and you missed it, and it's so critical because this was alluded to in EA's presentation yesterday, that we would see more of the War Stories mode at Microsoft's E3 presentation. And we did see more, about 5 seconds more.
Yeah,
and that was the end of it.
I think why I missed it, because it felt like it was an extra 20 seconds of the same trailer they showed at their event. When they teased it, I was expecting gameplay. I was expecting somebody to be playing the single player, but I was like, oh, okay, it's just a bit more. It looked good. It looked good, didn't it? But
come on, man, it was terrible. It was. If I was Microsoft, I'd be like, come on, EA, throw me a bone, give us something exclusive to show and stuff. And all right, Microsoft, we'll work with you. Like, here you go. Here's our trailer, but the 20-second extra, 20 seconds extra director's cut edition that you could take the 20 seconds extra of and show. Like, oh man, it was. I could see why. Literally, it was just like they just showed it. They didn't even speak about it. It just kind of just was lost in the wash.
I mean, I like the idea of playing as some Swedish kid going around murdering Nazis in my own backyard.
So
you
my
know,
impression,
killed
I
my
think
mum.
it's going to be. I think it's actually Finnish. Is my suspicion.
All the same.
Yeah. Ooh.
That part of the world.
Well, God, mate, this is Marcus Ericsson versus Raikkonen Hakkinen. You should know better that Sweden is not the same as Finland. Oh, Ben.
I know it's shocking. It's shocking. But something like that. It actually reminded me a little bit of probably the Sam Jackson film you've never heard of called Big Game. Have you ever seen Big Game?
No, I've never heard of it.
In Big Game, Sam Jackson is the president of the United States, and Air Force One gets shot down over Sweden, Finland, Norway, one of those three, and it gets shot down. There's this like 13-year-old kid who's out on like a rite of passage hunting trip, who ends up finding Sam Jackson's escape pod and then helping him survive against the baddies in the sort of the woods and the sort of survival in that kind of area. It reminded me of that, like the idea that you're going to be using like a bow and arrow and like low tech shit to fight Nazis. I think that could be a fun little vignette within the story mode, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think, but you know, I am extrapolating a lot from very little.
There's actually that's not too ungrounded. In fact, a lot of that was quite the Finnish were quite like that in World War II. Actually, cool. Very guerrilla warfare style tactics and stuff. So yeah, that might well come through.
You know more about that front than I do then in that case. So that's fine. Now we got into Phil coming out and saying, yo, Microsoft got bank bitches. Let's spend some of the dollar. And he literally was like, and we bought this. And we bought 3 of them, and we bought a couple of those. So he said, first of all, I don't know if this is in order, but they announced Playground Games has been bought by Microsoft. So it's now a first-party studio. They are the developers of Forza Horizon, I should say specifically, and have long been rumored to have spun up a subsidiary studio that's working on an RPG, which is probably the Fable sequel.
He said they had a new open world expert. They were using their open world expertise on a new project, is what he said, wasn't it?
He'd said that there, but this is previous information I'm also sprinkling in as well, which is that Playground they've hired for a big RPG. And the rumor has long been that it was going to be that was Fable, and it just makes sense for Xbox to make that acquisition. That's a pretty sound buy, I would say. We got a surprise one. We got local for us, Joel. Cambridge, Ninja Theory.
I know.
Often a PlayStation exclusive developer for the longest time, bought by Xbox. That's crazy, man, that they've gone inside first party. I mean, you know, they made an incredible we didn't love Hellblade, me and you, Joel, mostly because of the gameplay, but I thought the production and the audio design and the visual design of that game were astounding. I was just let down by the gameplay. And I think from a storytelling perspective, that's an exciting prospect, that people like that who are willing to tackle such difficult, mature subjects are now inside Xbox on the first party sort of roster. That's pretty cool, huh?
I hope so. Like, I'm always a bit wary about acquisitions in game studios, and especially when they're bought under a larger corporate umbrella. Let's see how it rolls. Some do well. I mean, some flourish. Some are taken out back and shot quietly.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but you know, best case, they're given the resources that they didn't have. You know, that they didn't have when they were independent to really fulfill the visions that they've got in their studio to make incredible, unique experiences. That's best case. And right now, it's E3, it's the conferences. We're talking hype, we're talking excitement, we're talking best case. You know, that's where I'm at. I'm not going to be too down on cynical on it.
I think you're right now. I think they've got financial security now. Let's hope they're still allowed their freedom of expression, I guess.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I feel like that's what Xbox wants, though. I feel like that's what Phil Spencer wants from the games and the teams that he's getting. I could be wrong, and he won't be there forever. You know, that's inevitable. At some point, he leaves and he could get replaced with a horrible suit. We don't know. Compulsion Games, the guys behind We Happy Few, a very small developer, have been picked up. They've been working hard, as we saw then from a We Happy Few trailer, to turn... This is such a weird game. So we had that amazing trailer, right? We had that amazing trailer, didn't we, about We Happy Few a year or so ago. And it looked fantastic. And then it came out in game preview, and it wasn't that game. It was like, that was the first 10 minutes of the game. And then it's this really rote survival game. It was just terrible game.
I was going to say I've never played it, and I'm still not entirely sure what it was. It looked So last year it was pitched as a sort of strong single player kind of.
Yeah, that's not what it was.
1984 sort of new world survival horror. Well, not survival horror, just a narrative horror story kind of thing. And now you're telling me it's more open. That it's a survival. It's a growing thing, isn't it? Yeah.
So you'd go through the opening bit in the trailer, like with the weird offices and the dudes in masks and the pinata that was the rat, if you remember from the trailer and all that. You go through that, and then you get out, and you'd be in like a town, and there'd be NPCs, and you were just told to survive, and you had to like scavenge and craft. And you had like a little home base you'd go back to. And I haven't been back to this game since it first came out in game preview because it was so shit. But they have taken this feedback on board, and they have gone back to the drawing board and been working very hard to make the single player experience people expected when they first saw that cool trailer. I don't know what their roadmap was. I don't know if the survival shit was just temporary or it was a foundation they were going to build on, because it was so different to what the game felt like it wanted to be. But hey, we're getting that. We're getting that. And it's out in August. So we'll be able to see what that finished product is. I feel like I'm missing a couple of studios here, Joel. So refer to your notes.
So Initiative, the Initiative,
That's their new thing from the ground up.
Led by a guy called Daryl, based in Santa Monica. And Undead Labs, State of Decay.
That was it. Thank you. Undead Labs, of course, who Microsoft have got behind very, very heavily since the first State of Decay. And I think they see a lot of potential in those guys. I mean, what they've released has been a bit janky in the technical side of things, but the ambition, the systems, the kind of the design and the sort of ideas behind their games seem very sound. And they seem like something you increase their budget by 50% or 100%, and they can create those experiences to the degree that you can tell they want them to be, but they just don't have the manpower to pull off. So that's the kind of, you look at that State of Decay and go, what would that have been like with another 20 million and another year in development? And it would have been perfect. You know, it could have been incredible instead of just very good. I think that's fair. Would you agree?
I've not played it. I want to get on board with it because both you and Richard said it was very good.
It is.
And I feel like I'm missing out on something.
Play it. Jesus Christ. Get a Game Pass for £1 and play it. Just do it. We then got a Battlegrounds sizzle, and it was like, yeah, this is Battlegrounds. Though not the Battlegrounds I've ever played, because I don't remember combat in Battlegrounds or situations ever being like anything in that trailer. Not because of technical problems, just because you don't really get into big group fights. That's just not how you play it. Yeah, come in. That's not how you play it. That's asking for trouble. Oh,
is your cat back?
No. I've had a beverage brought to me, which
whoa, self.
I like waiter service, but from the lovely wife. Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, I guess the announcements from that trailer was that we're getting the third map that's out on PC like this week or something, or next week. That's coming to Xbox this summer, and then Snow this Christmas.
Yeah.
So do we care about that?
And annoyingly, it was announced as a console exclusive. So there goes my theory of the PS4 announcement tomorrow.
Was it announced on the? I didn't know.
The video started with the console exclusive tag. So
okay,
I believe that will basically cement the fact that it isn't going to come on PS4 at least for now. So
I'm not bothered. I mean, the real experience for PUBG is on PC. I like the Xbox mode because I seem to always win when I play on Xbox. Not to toot my own horn, but I don't find it that challenging. I put a few hours in and I've got a chicken dinner. I haven't played Miramar yet. I really want to check out the new desert map. And I'm looking forward to the tropical map as well. There's kind of the small map. War mode. What is war mode? Is war mode 50 on 50?
They didn't say. They just said war mode.
It's out. War mode's out on PC already. Yeah. But I need to look it up.
Okay, that might explain it, because literally, it looked like it might be some sort of team versus team sort of Battlefield style mode.
Yeah, I think it's a big team battle, basically. But yeah, more PUBG, whatever. They've got to show it off because it's still a hot thing, hot property. One thing I will mention: not a lot of Royale modes or Battle Royale modes in this conference, were there? Other than PUBG, there was one shown in the little idea Xbox sizzle reel, a Battle Royale game, but not really any big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting. We then got, I'm pretty excited about this, man. Division 2.
Oh, you skipped again. You skipped again. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. I thought that's what you were about to say.
Weird that I skipped a remake of an old anime JRPG that I don't care about. Funny how I didn't even tweet about that one.
Yeah. All right. So yeah.
But the music was good.
Now you can talk about the Division.
Yes, please. Thank you. So Division 2. Right, this was great. We got a cool trailer, atmospheric trailer. Washington DC. It's in the summer because if you remember rightly, the Division 1 was in the winter. So I guess that was a very conscious decision to move the seasons there. Doesn't necessarily have connection to the first game. At least it doesn't mention any kind of connection in the trailer, other than them talking about a virus. Of course, the first game is based around a virus as well. They don't really mention New York at any point or what happened previously. So it seems to be a clean slate in regards to that. It might have story connections, it might not, because it seems to be leaning towards this idea of America tearing itself apart, a new civil war based around the Capitol and things like that, which isn't really what the First Division's about. So I'm not sure where it's going to place in a story way. Maybe it's just more like the Division games are Tom Clancy inspired scenarios that aren't necessarily related, but they're just sort of a framework to put the player into. And I'm fine with that. I mean, I thought the setting looked pretty cool. I like the idea of fighting my way up the mall into the Capitol and all of that. I crashed downed Air Force One, looked pretty badass, and good set pieces are going to be had, that's for sure. The interface, the menu, all of that looked very familiar to those of us that put hundreds of hours in Division like I did. But yeah, I'm up for it. Loot system all looked really similar. Everything looked like it had been tweaked and just like, evolved and learnt from the first game rather than trying to do anything particularly drastically different. And then we got that awesome gameplay trailer with the fake canned dialogue, which I love that when the Ubisoft do it. They are always the worst. It's who talks like that? It's almost like they're talking like they're actually military, and I've never spoken to anybody on Xbox Live like that. It's just you're just over talking and just like telling each other to fuck off all the time. I mean, it's hilarious.
It cracks me up because I sit there watching it and she's just like, yeah, I need some assistance over here. And straight away, he knows where to exactly go and stuff and start shooting. And I'm just thinking, oh God, if that was us guys playing it, it'd be just like, God, he's over there. He's over there. He's over there. And he'd be like, where's over there? He's like, over there, over there, over there. And then we're all dead. it's
like that thing where
didn't you see him over there? It's like, where?
It's like, I'm down, Jim, I'm down. It's like, yeah, but I'm busy.
Yeah.
Jeff, can you get him? No, I'm busy too. What, Mike? No, I don't want to get him. I'll get shot. I'll die. But I'm down. I need somebody to get me. Oh, I've died now. See you at respawn.
Or more,
it's like nobody's gonna get you up.
Or as I remember from Sea of Thieves, it's like Ben, turn the ship, and you're just like, dude, I died ages ago. It's like, what? Why didn't you tell anybody?
Looked good though, didn't it? I'm down with the setting and all of that. That looks
it
pretty cool.
Very much like the existing. It looked like the Division, didn't it? Sorry.
Yes.
Just trying to pick someone off the floor. So yeah, let's see how it goes. So my only major bugbear with the first game was that I just got sick of just the same repeated quests in every new section that I unlocked on the map. It just got boring and boring and boring. A bit like Wildlands as well. I really hope they do. I really hope they spice it up with some variety. So that's what I want from it. I enjoyed playing it co-op. I played through it with friends. We did a lot of the hardcore missions, and that aspect of it is fun. It's challenging. But playing it single player got very repetitive. So I really hope they can do something about that.
And after this, and after what felt like a solid wall of game after game after game, they slowed things down a little bit. And they had people come out on stage. They had this lady come out on stage and talk about Game Pass. And I thought that and some tech stuff. Was it Ashley? I like the good. Thank you for that note. Props to Ashley. So first of all, she talked about this fast start thing, which is basically them acknowledging that ready to play is a piece of shit that nobody uses because it never works and it's just frustration. So have you ever tried to play a game when it's not fully installed?
I used it once. Gears of War 4.
Once, love it.
And it loaded up, and it was like, "Yep, Gears of War 4 is ready to play." So I loaded it up, and the main menu loaded, and there's like, "Oh, campaign." It's like, "No, we're still installing this feature." It's like, "Oh, so what was really ready to play was the main menu, but nothing else works. Why?
And
Why? Just don't bother. Just tell me to download the whole fucking game and then let me load it. Don't get my whole hopes up." And
so I loved it when there's this fast start's meant to be using AI, computer learning, and special powers of the cloud and all this crap. And yeah, I knew you'd say that.
My exact note on it says fast start ... sounds like bullshit. In fact, technically, it's bullshit. Like,
it sounds like what they're trying to do. Tell me what I think. I don't know much about the technical side, but it sounds like what they're saying they're doing is that they're going to sort of work out what parts of games gamers want to get into first and make sure they're loaded and available as quickly as possible. Is that a fair assessment of what they're proposing?
So my reverse engineering of what I think was said implies that at the moment, the ready-to-play mode probably depends on the developer flagging certain files as essential, and then after that, or associating certain files with features so that it can hit some ready-to-play mode. Whereas this one, I think, might be they don't depend on developers to do it anymore. That they'll use their algorithm on a fully installed game to work out what files are installed when you first start a game and accessed, and then they'll work from there. So I think they'll try and realistically work out, and maybe not even a file level, maybe like how many segments of a file are accessed. So thinking deep down using my software engineering knowledge, yeah, that's kind of what I guess that they're trying to do. They're trying to take it to the next level. They're just trying to, rather than let the developers do it, they're going to try and do their own guesswork based on metrics of people who've installed the full game and how it actually, what date you actually do access. So,
okay. Now, tell me if I interpreted this wrong or not, because I felt it was a little bit fuzzy on the messaging next. They then showed a selection of games coming to Game Pass in the future, and I got the impression that they were saying these games will be available on Game Pass as soon as they launch, but they're not Microsoft games.
So I only caught. So first of all, there was Halo Master Chief Collection is going to be added.
That's coming out later on. Yeah, so, I'm talking about Vermintide 2, Ashen.
They were the only two I managed to get from the, because this is the segment that went so quickly that I couldn't even list all the games that they were going through.
But did you get that impression as well?
I think it explicitly said that they will be available on launch.
Yes.
I think they sold it as that, yes.
Well, that's huge then. What they're saying is that they're going to get deals in place with non-Microsoft, non-Microsoft. Well, obviously they're Microsoft. They don't have to get deals in place with Microsoft. Basically. But third parties, that mean their games go straight into Game Pass on launch. That's a big fucking deal. That really is. I mean, that is incredible value to the consumer now. It's just growing and growing and growing. It's mad. It's mad that they're doing stuff like this. So I think that was a bit of a stealth big hit there from them. What they're saying is that Game Pass is just going to become bigger and better value consistently and constantly. They announced, what was it, Fallout, Division, and
the Elder Scrolls Online.
Elder Scrolls Online have all been added to Game Pass. I feel like ESO is the most obvious thing ever. That's a very smart move to basically make that, for all intents and purposes, free to play finally.
That's quite the interesting one though, because so I played it. Mark loved this game, and I can't remember if it's a monthly subscription model.
ESO is. I've got it. I've got it and reviewed it twice. I reviewed the base game of ESO and I reviewed Morrowind, the first expansion.
And it's not.
It's not monthly sub. No.
Right. Okay. So my first thought was like, wow, that's a monthly sub MMO that's on Game Pass. But there we go.
Not monthly sub.
You cleared that up for me. Cheers.
It has a lot of monetization options. When it comes to like microtransactions, there's everything. Everything is like that. It's one of the reasons I don't like it, because when I want to play an Elder Scrolls game, I don't really want to fuck around with that sort of shit. I just want to get on with it. But yeah, and then they do these yearly expansions. They just brought out the Somerset Isle, so more, and they're all like full price almost. They're all like 40 quid expansions. So that's how they continue to support it. Yeah. Okay, and then we went into Shadow of Tomb Raider. I should love these Tomb Raider games. That they're so high production, really good stories, you know, great action, really well made. I just leaves me cold, man. Whatever it is, something about the characterization or the settings or everything just feels like it wishes it was Uncharted. And I just find Uncharted has got an infinitely more charismatic lead characters than these Tomb Raider games, and therefore I just bounce off of them. But I don't know. Are you excited for Shadow of Tomb Raider?
So the Tomb Raider games have never, from the trailers, they've never captured me. I've never been excited about them from the trailers. They always literally look like it's going to be such a linear experience where literally there'll be so little gameplay in between. And then I must admit though, I played the Tomb Raider, played Rise of the Tomb Raider. I've completed both games, and I did actually enjoy them as games. So yeah, this trailer didn't get me excited at all. To be honest, it just looked like, oh yeah, that's just all the bits I didn't actually enjoy that much about the previous two games just on display. The intense cinematics and craziness of it. But there, you know, in the previous two, there was a reasonably decent game behind all that shit when you pushed it all aside. So yeah, quietly curious. I'll wait and see. I've never bought one on launch, so.
I know the idea Xbox or Real was around here as well somewhere, but I don't.
Yeah, that kind of reeled off just after the it was under the Game Pass section, and literally I just couldn't even get the games. I had like Outer Wilds, Golf Club. Below was announced as a console exclusive, so that's been a game I've been keeping an eye on for a while. Quite excited about. So that's
supposedly it's actually coming out, you know. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, that's basically it. Waking, Planet Alpha, Sable, Harold Halibut, Bomber Crew, Children of I didn't even think I typed that word right. The Wind Road, Wall Road, Generation Ashen, and then I just put the C word right at the end with an exclamation mark, because that's not even half the games that they started firing out at that point. How are you supposed to keep up with that?
We one of the ones they did show more extensively was Tunic, which is this sort of, well, it looked like Zelda, didn't it? Like
I've got that
old
quite
school
further down the list. So after Shadow,
oh right, well I'll mention it now, and then I'll go back to one of the big announcements in a second. But Tunic, yeah, that looked cute and approachable and friendly and nice, didn't it? I mean, it looked completely inoffensive.
Amazing, I thought. Yeah, that was what and it's just the guy standing on the stage, because they kept showing the game's name, but in a different, not even in a foreign language, was it? It was obviously in the obscure language of the game, and I was just sitting there thinking, translate. What is this game? Stop showing me that text over and over again.
So I'll swing it back now. We got a big world premiere of, wow, I was quite surprised to see this. I have to say, DMC5, Devil May Cry is back, a true sequel to the proper Devil May Cry series. I actually really like DMC, by the way. That's a really cool game. I really like that game. It was really, really good. But DMC5, we're going back to, I don't know, Dante, Nero, those guys. Looks absolutely mad. For some reason, there's like a main character that just seems to be like American trailer trash personified for some, because quirky Japanese take on Western shit. It's always great when they do it. But it looks like there's going to be lots of demon killing, over the top action. It looked like they played Bayonetta. In all honesty, is the vibe I got. That they gone, yeah, they did that kind of better than we done the last couple. Let's really go for that, and lean on that. I mean, that should work, really, shouldn't it? Character action at its purest.
Let's see. Didn't look too bad.
You don't have a history with the DMCs?
Not really, no.
Because you don't play games, is what I'm learning from this,
seemingly.
from this podcast.
what I don't play is mainstream games, I guess.
Dude, now, this is a game when it came up next, this world premiere from Bandai Namco, and I watched this trailer and I was literally going,
whoa, no.
Joel and Mark are going to shoot their brains out. No, leave your thing to whatever. Let me talk about this. I'll talk about this. You can bring up your next thing after this. But I want to talk about this with you, because did you lose your mind when they basically announced a game crossing over Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, Death Note, and probably others that they haven't even shown?
So as soon as I'm watching the trailer, and within like the first few clips, it's like, that's Frieza's spaceship. I'll recognize that wrecked piece of junk anywhere. So I already knew that this was some game pulling together various characters and stuff like that. I'll watch it with quiet curiosity because
great name as well. I really like the title.
No, the
Jump
name's
Force.
freaking awful.
I love
That's
that.
So terrible.
It's like, what do they all do? They jump around a lot. Perfect.
I've text Mark already and told him like, yeah, the name's shit, but maybe you want to look at this.
I like the name.
How can you like the name?
I think they get it. It's stupid. Stupid. I mean, the question
like
is
from The Office or something. You are now the Jump Squad.
What
so
type of game do you think it is?
It's gonna be. It's got to be. Well, it looked like a fighting game, didn't it? It looked like it's going to be some sort of 2D fighting game, but Jump Force kind of implies some sort of cooperation potentially. Like,
I think if it's a fighting game, I think it's like Smash Bros.
Nah, I wanted to say it didn't flash up 2.5D at the end, did it? That was something else.
That was something else.
This is where the whole thing's beginning to blur into one. They didn't really.
No, this was, but I mean, this like you said, this is a cinematic, so it didn't really indicate. I mean, it could have just been a cool fighting cutscene. It could be like character action. It could be a fighting game. It could be a platformer for all we know. It could be all kinds of things, couldn't it? Really, we don't know. I thought it looked cool. What did I annoy you by skipping over?
So you've skipped over Session, skateboarding game, console exclusive.
Oh yeah, bummer.
I used to love the Tony Hawk's games, and I'm not even a skateboarder, but I just used to find them quite fun.
All I know is when that was getting announced, everybody on Twitter was like, "Oh my god, it's Skate 4, fine!" Oh, it's not Skate, and that was like basically everyone's reaction.
So,
but it looked a lot like Skate.
All right. So next you missed Black Desert, an MMORPG.
I didn't bother talking about that one because that's been announced for like 8. I think we knew about that for about best part of 2 years now. And it's just been coming slowly along. I think it's been massively delayed. It should have been out on Xbox like about a year ago. And they've just taken a long time bringing it around, and it's still not out. It's going to go into beta or something. It said, didn't it?
So
on that, yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll skip that one. Cuphead, the delicious last course. You've skipped as well.
A trailer for DLC. Yeah. No, I did skip it. You're right. I don't love Cuphead. I didn't love Cuphead, so I was kind of just like, yeah. I like the fact that they've got new characters and you know bringing new levels, or really going for it with it. But obviously, it only exists. It only exists because of of how well it's done. And they've gone, here, make more. Here's some money, make more. And that it's not coming out until bloody next year. It's like, Jesus Christ, taking a long time for some DLC, that isn't it? But
hand drawn artwork, man, it takes a while.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, to hire more monkeys, it's fine. Anything else?
No. So now we're up to Dying Light 2 next.
Oh damn! Yeah, I got excited about that, bro. I got excited about. I'm not even going to ask you if you played it. I know. I know at this point I know the answer. I know Mark did a lot as well as me, and he's probably going to be very excited about that. Basically, the big thing with Dying Light 2 seems to be that they're going to be bringing in this choice element and this decision element, where it's going to have much more of an impact on the world around you, supposedly. Always a big claim, that, especially in an open world game. I think to claim that you're going to have such an impact on your environment from the choices you make, it's a lofty goal, and I hope they attain. But more than that, I just hope it's got great parkour mobility, really good melee combat. You know, that's what the first game was all about. It felt fun to play. It was a zombie world, a zombie apocalypse world that felt different because of the mobility, that felt different because of the combat. And the crafting elements. It's a really cool game, actually, Dying Light, if you haven't played it. And it's been amazingly well supported in post-release by the developers Techland. Like, still bringing out DLC to this day, like 2 years later. It's crazy. And it's often free as well. Joel, did you play it?
I haven't, but the reason I haven't played it, and I have a good reason, is because I have played Dead Island. And literally, as soon as someone told me, like, oh, the developer of Dead Island just made this other game, it's like, yeah, no, thank you. Like... So
Dead Island was them practicing, right? So they yeah, it literally was. It was their first. It was their first stab at the. It was their first go, right? So they had a go, and then they left the Dead Island franchise. Dead Island 2 is a completely different developer, for example. And then Dead Island 3 has been like stuck in limbo for ages now. But yeah, they left after that. They got their sort of the ideas of the mobility and the combat, like, from Dead Island, and then they refined them. and it's so much better than Dead Island. It really, really is. It's such a cool game, mate, and it's definitely worth playing with these big open areas and stuff. No, it's Richard's played it a lot as well, actually, if I remember right. I think he reviewed it back in the day. But no, it's really, really good, and you can get it for like no money now. Dying Light, well worth checking out. Oh, so many things. Right. Battletoads? Was that next?
It was.
We didn't see anything. We had a slightly amusing trailer, which was sort of playing on some cliches. And I guess I do not have any kind of nostalgic love for Battletoads. I played it in rare replay after playing them very, very briefly when I was a kid. I'm a Turtles fan, and Battletoads was a game that existed because they couldn't get the license for the Turtles. So it's a weird thing for people to have love over and to still demand games of. It's a strange thing to exist, I think, in 2019 when it comes out, but sure, why not? I suppose if it's knowing enough and it plays well enough, it could be fun. Or it could be awful, because games like that, I think of Eat Lead, the Matt Hazard story, and that was terrible because it was so incredibly knowing and wink, wink, nudge, nudgy. So bad. If you can hear that music, it's not mine. It's a very loud car outside. Okay. After Battletoads, Rico is back in Just Cause 4. Another developer that's working their arse off this year, which is Avalanche, with the third game that's coming out at E3 this year from them. After Rage and I've gone blank. There was another game, wasn't there, that Avalanche are doing? Didn't we talk about it yesterday?
It's that robot-y Swedish one, isn't it?
Ah, yes. Something Zero.
Yeah. That is
Generation
also,
Zero.
Yeah, that was shown on the Game Pass thread as well.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. Have you enjoyed any of Rico Rodriguez's exploits in the previous Just Cause games? Do I need to ask, Joel? I know the answer.
As is the common theme, I don't think I've played any of the Just Cause series of games.
This is a game series that's been going around since like the early 360 generation, and you've never come okay.
Well, they're across them. Just never felt the need to play them.
You're not a big open world gamer, are you? Really? That's not your jam like me. That's my thing. I love open world games. I love the freedom and the environments and all that stuff. But no, the sort of USP of Rodriguez and the Just Cause is zipping around on this crazy zip line thing he has, and it has like parachutes that he can just like pop at any time, and then he can like do this thing called stunt position where he's like driving a car and he's gonna be like, I'm gonna get on the bonnet of the car, and then I'm gonna leap off the car and I'm gonna grapple that helicopter, and then I'm gonna zip line into the helicopter, kicking the pilot out, and then I'm gonna take the helicopter and then I'm gonna strafe this road and make everything explode. And that's kind of the whole point of Just Cause, which is in the end explosions. Everything is about making everything.
It's the Michael Bay of video games. I've seen lots of videos of them and stuff. So, and
it's this trailer seemed to imply wherever he is has got a real problem with tornadoes. Like there seem to be tornadoes appearing constantly through this trailer, and the best bit is Rico Rodriguez is not scared of no tornado. He drove into the tornado. I love it. That's mad.
So here first, Twisted the video game.
Unless the bad guys can summon tornadoes somehow, it was a strange thing to see so many tornadoes in one place. But look, Just Cause 3 is really good fun. Hampered horribly on consoles by very poor ports that aren't optimized well, so the frame rate really chugs badly when all those lovely explosions are going off. Hopefully, Just Cause 4, which is actually out this year. It's coming out in December. So it's only just been announced and it's coming out in December. I love that. That's always fun. But it's another Square Enix game. I'm kind of wondering to myself what's going to be at their show. But yeah, I am very much looking forward to seeing that coming out this year. A lot of fun.
The fun segment, which...
This was great. I love this word. This was so good.
I was adamant. In fact, almost 100% sure there would be a Gears game. I was not 100% sure that there would be 3 Gears games.
Didn't I tell you 3? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I put it on my predictions? 3 Gears of War games. I did. I didn't, however, predict Gears Pop. I did not predict a Gears of War mobile game focused on their pop vinyl line. Weird, but sure.
Anyway, moving on.
Why not? We don't even know what that
What?
game is. It was a quirky little trailer that they put on there purely to piss off the audience, which I thought was hilarious. Brave and hilarious. We then got the rumored, I think I did put this one, the Gears Tactics.
Yep.
Which I said was basically going to be Gears like Halo War style. But this is less big RTS and it seems to be a bit more XCOM.
Yep.
So turn-based XCOM, perfect use of that license. That should work really well. Seems to be a PC-only game, at least at this point. Lots of mouse cursor action on the screen. I noticed in the footage we got.
Yeah, it looked like you actually got to take sniper shots and things, didn't it? So looks interesting. Watch that space.
And then we got
they've added their own spin on it.
And then we got proper Gears of War 5, didn't we? Which seems to have, I would think, a very contentious choice at its heart, which would be that Kate, the kind of third wheel of the new cast that was introduced in Gears 4, has now been propelled into the player character role. So it seems that Gears of War 5 is going to focus around the story of Kate, and you will be playing as Kate. If not for the entire game, at least for sections of it. I found the trailer a bit confusing, right? So someone's dead, but it's not any of the cast we remember because they're all there. So, you know, Marcus is there. It took me a minute to work out who JD was. JD's changed his look entirely.
Yeah.
From like blonde, blue eyes, and he's got a gruff beard, and he's being a right dickhead, pretty much. Seems to be giving them orders, and it's just like, well, this is all very weird. The dynamic has shifted a lot in this trailer. It felt strangely out of context and didn't really work, I didn't think, by itself, those bits. But someone's died, and she's all cut up, and she's having weird problems in her head. Like, if you remember, she's like related to the Locust Queen or something from Gears of War 4, if I remember rightly. And she's getting locusty thoughts, maybe. So it's a quest to try and help her with her locust impulses. We'll go with that. Anything you want to mention? Looked like Gears, looked all right.
Looked like Gears. To be honest, like I played a lot of Gears 1, played a lot of Gears 2, played a lot of Gears 3, and I played a lot of Judgment, actually. Judgment was pretty cool as well. Gears 4 just didn't resonate with me. So it was still the same kind of Gearsy gameplay, but it kind of just had that same Halo 4 issue where they just took the fun enemies out and replaced them with these crappy robots that weren't any fun, and then flooded the game with shite weapons to complement it. And it's just like, yeah, no, not interested in this. It's just like,
I do kind of know what you mean. Yeah. I beat it. I liked it enough. I thought it was a well-produced package. It would be interesting to see, you know, more of this. We didn't get any kind of release date window or anything for it. I would suspect end of next year.
We've got 2019, which is obviously a very broad scope for releasing. I'm guessing it won't be February 20.
I fucking hope not. Kill us all if it is. But no, yeah, it looked fine, didn't it? And this was kind of this brought us towards the end of the show. Phil came out again and, well, interestingly mentioned that we're working on the next generation.
So you made 3 interesting points. Well, actually 2 interesting points. You just talked about AI, which, like, yeah, whatever. Game streaming was the interesting one about bringing it to
another one.
Platforms and stuff.
EA were making a big deal out of that as well.
I'm quite surprised by this. Like I say, I've worked with this tech, and I still don't think that the connectivity side of it is in place to make this feasible yet. So let's see. Also,
dude, I just don't want to play Xbox games on my fucking phone. I want to play them on my 4K TV with HDR. You know, I don't understand. I mean, kids do, I guess. That's what it comes down to, yeah? Kids like to play games on their phones. But it's such a weird thing for me. Why do I want that crammed on my phone or my iPad? I just don't get it. It's a desire at all. And then, yeah, mention the next generation, that they're working on the next generation, which is tantamount. Would you say it's tantamount to admitting they've lost this one?
No. Well, no. I think they already know that. I don't think it's tantamount to admitting they've lost. I think this is just stating the obvious. That the minute that your hardware team finish their current project, they'll move on to the next. And that will be conversing with all chipset manufacturers, all graphic cards manufacturers. They'll be trying to work out what tech they can actually achieve for the next thing. And they'll have prototypes. Every year they'll have prototypes, new different spins of different ideas and stuff. You know, so few of them will go through to production or sort of become the final model or sculpt into it. They'll always be trying to ride the top of the wave, and when they need to productize something and turn it out to the market, that's when they'll do it. And it's exactly the same for Sony. So yeah, all this speculation and stuff for people talking about the next hardware generation. Of course, their hardware teams are always working on it, but you know, they'll decide when they're actually going to release something.
It makes sense, doesn't it? We're 5 years deep, right? So you acknowledge at this point in this show, you just say we're doing it, it's happening, obviously. Then at next show, you announce for the following year. So it's 7 years, which is a pretty standard average console life cycle of around 7 years. That's kind of where the industry's at. So that seems logical, like you said. Yeah, practical, sensible. And then we had, I thought, a really slickly presented one more thing. It was like the conference got hacked and we had code on the screen and it was all red. And I started to get very excited, Joel, because I knew what it was going to be. And I was like, yes, give it to me. Give it to me. Oh, by the way, some of that code on the screen was actually redeemable codes for their previous game, which I thought was quite fun. So people have got some little freebies out of that. But yes, Cyberpunk 2077 from CD Projekt Red. Oh my God, it looks so good, Joel. It looks so good. I'm so excited, mate. That game, that world is kind of like take Blade Runner, take Deus Ex, add a shit ton more kind of color and a bit less neon, and like mash all that sort of cyberpunky genre together to create this world of augmented people with skulljacking, with flying cars, with slums and high rises, with syndicate-esque sort of stuff in there as well. If you remember that, get those games in the remake. Oh mate, that just seems like a playground I can't wait to get lost in a proper open world RPG from the guys that made Witcher 3. I mean, that is going to be phenomenal, isn't it?
Should have lots of potential. So I'm really hoping, obviously, with The Witcher, they had a lot of source material to borrow from. In this case, I think
it's a RPG, isn't it? Cyberpunk 2077. I thought it was a pen and paper.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, maybe I'm pretty sure it's a pen and paper property. I'm pretty sure it's based on.
There you go. Then, in which case, my reservations may be answered already. Maybe they have got some decent source material to go from, and they're just.
Because I think that's how we first found out about it back in the day, was when they bought the license.
So that's so your prediction.
I could be wrong, but I believe that's correct. Yeah,
more of a sort of well-educated hunch.
Oh no, but no, we've known they've been working on this game for ages. My prediction was that it was going to be on the Microsoft press conference, and that was completely 100% true. So yeah, that was the Microsoft conference, which I imagine will be the most packed conference we'll get this year. I can't imagine any of the others coming close to that. I mean, what do you think?
So overall, I felt the format seemed very similar to last year, where it was just a sort of avalanche of games and footage. But then there wasn't actually much real gameplay footage. I think there was large waves of pre-rendered stuff. I think some games were genuinely actually, sort of in-engine footage and stuff. But I take it with a pinch of salt. So, it kind of looked promising and stuff. And Microsoft are obviously, they are focusing on the games. So let's give them good credit for that and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, it's a shame that you see less practical demonstrations of the games at these conferences now. That does seem to be an in general thing that they're moving away from to make these slightly more slick productions out of them. I think the difference between this year's and last year's, I would have to do the maths, as it were, and literally line up the games next to each other. But I have a strong suspicion that we got a lot more actual AAA reveals this year than we did last year. There maybe isn't as many exclusives as some people would like. However, I think that you've got these third parties that are clearly throwing themselves behind Xbox in a strong way. I think is very encouraging for the brand. Look, what Phil has done with his announcement of those studio acquisitions, it ties into what he said at the end of the conference. You're not going to see games from them until the next generation. You just kind of have to accept that. You're not going to get new IP from any of those studios for at least 3 years. And realistically, more like 4 or 5 if they're just spinning up now. Playground's Fable, if it's gonna happen, will probably launch the next generation. It's just that's, you know, you can't go from inception to release in a year. It doesn't. That's not how games are made. However much you wish it was. Do you know what I mean? It's just not the reality of it. And I think what we're seeing here is a bright future with him creating all these new Microsoft studios, doubling the size of Microsoft's first party studios, which means they, you know, going to have a really strong next gen, a really strong, you know, lineup in 3 years, 4 years time. But you have to be, you know, it's just the nature of it. It's not going to happen. I wish it could. You know, they tried, didn't they? They tried games like, you know, Scalebound clearly got quite far before they canned it when they realized it was untenable and not something that would actually could be released. You know, so that, you know, that's games development. It doesn't always work, does it? Which is why I think, you know, Xbox of old, they did a lot of second party deals and third party deals, and a lot of them haven't panned out. So I think that's why that Phil's been so keen to bring him in-house under the umbrella, where he can oversee the development and make sure the games and the ideas are right and then get finished and are actually something that can be released. You know, so I think it's a shift in that direction. And he's obviously, they've looked at PlayStation, haven't they? And gone, look at what Sony Santa Monica is producing. Look at the God of Wars and the Last of Us's and the Uncharted's. You know, it's not like Sony has hundreds of these games, but they have enough to make them look very, very strong. That's when they're of that quality, and that's what Xbox wants.
Quality over quantity always wins.
But they're also, I think they're upping the quantity as well. I mean, I think they're going all in. You've got like clearly third party deals in place here, and also a huge amount of investment into first party, and you know, probably more than what Sony will have. They'll probably have more studios on the payroll. Hell, they took one out from under them with Ninja Theory. I mean, that was a second party studio for Sony, who used to have a lot of exclusive games being released on the Sony platform. So whatever they did there, you know, they must have been very aggressive to take that. But I think it's an interesting future, but it's the future. It's you know, that's a reason why we're seeing so much of emphasis put on the third party in this show, because those games in a year or 2019, you know, that's what you're going to have, you know, on the Xbox platform. There's not a lot of first party. There just won't be.
And does that not paint a somewhat sad aspect potentially to what we've just seen? So cast your mind back to last year and what was displayed last year, and that was equally an avalanche of games attempting to address the need for, we have games coming for this platform. Now, how many of those games actually came out? Because I'm recalling back in my mind, there are several games that I saw last year that still I can't touch or own. And then we've got it the same potentially again here. We've got lots of concepts and could-bes, but not a potential real focus on actually what can I, you know, in some cases there are a few games that like you can play this month, you can play this, it's going to be out later this month, you know, it's going to be out later this year. We've got October the 2nd for Forza Horizon. So there are some meat on some of the bones, but you've got to admit it looks a bit thin in other places.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, you're right. I mean, absolutely. You can't deny that they don't have as strong as sort of an exclusive lineup. But I think the difference is that they're focusing on being the best versions of all the games that do come out from third parties that will be multi-platform. You know, if you have the X, you're going to get the best version of those games. You just will. There's really no two ways about it. And I think that's kind of the messaging. It's such a strange thing, isn't it? Because I think I'd be very surprised if any of the showings coming up this week are better than that, better than what Xbox just did. But at the same time, is that just because Xbox gazumped the others by paying for the world premieres, by paying from third parties, you know, by paying for those exclusives, timed exclusives as well, mostly. So it's a tricky one. You know, they're doing what they can. I think there's more hope now with the studio announcements than there has been in the last few years. Crackdown is a big stain, and they need to get that shit out of the way. Either can it or release it. I'm surprised they let it get delayed again into February. Just because it really doesn't look like it's going to be that amazing. It really doesn't. So it's kind of like, well, what's the extra time going to do for it? You know, is it that much of a mess that it couldn't even be released? You know, so it's questionable, isn't it? It's an interesting one. It'd be interesting to see how Sony come out. I think Sony are going to go down hard on just a few titles, aren't they? That's what they've said, and just really like focus down on their core. I'm looking forward to Bethesda in a couple of hours now, seeing what they announce. Hopefully there'll be some surprises. It won't just be everything we're expecting. I'm still hoping for the Doom, really am. But I probably won't get it, but I'll keep hoping. But yeah, I thought it was very, very strong. I thought it was better than last year. I really be curious. Maybe for our weekend show, we'll try and get the games listed next to each other, and look actually at, you know, what was announced last year, what was shown last year, what was shown this year. I just remember last year's feeling like they didn't have many surprises or like wow moments. I was definitely more wowed from this, even if the wows didn't come from Microsoft products or from Xbox products. It came from announcements of third-party games that will be on all platforms, but were shown for the first time here. So, you know, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it as a gamer. You know, look, for us, right? We own all the platforms, don't we? Right? Me and you and Richard. Yep. Bxb, we own all the platforms, and I like to play my multi-platform games on the best hardware possible for them, which right now is the One X. You know, you're gonna get the most from it there. I can understand if that's not something everybody can do. You know, you have to, you know, a lot of people can only pick one console to get behind, and this generation, that's undoubtedly PlayStation. You know, so I'm now looking forward 3 years' time. I'm thinking about that next generation. I'm thinking about what these new studios are going to produce for that generation. And that's, you know, that's the long game that gets me excited. You know, that it's weird. We don't really get those far in the future game release announcements anymore, you know, to really get hyped for something in 2020, for example. You know, I'm guessing we're going to get a Dragon Age, you know, in 2020, but nobody's talking about that yet. For example, you know, we're going to get a Halo 6, but nobody's talking about that yet. You know, it's coming, but that's just not how the industry seems to be working at the moment. They don't like doing it. I think Phil is actively staying away from that because he feels like he's letting the gamers down when those games don't work. Yeah. Like Scalebound, which keeps coming up, even though, trust me, look, guys, they wouldn't have canned that if it wasn't a steaming pile of shit that was never going to come out, which was just bad money after bad money. They would not have canned it. They clearly tried to make it work, but, you know, it didn't. So, yeah, I think they're trying to avoid that disappointment. So you're not as enthused as me, Joel, I feel.
I'm just a bit more reserved. I think, you know, I want to take everything with a pinch of salt. It all looks promising and stuff, but I also want to see a little bit more about having purchased an X, what can I look forward to in the next 2-3 months, not what can I look forward to in potentially 3 years on a next generation piece of hardware.
Well, you can look forward to all the games, you know, 4K HDR, more of them at 60. They mentioned, didn't they? Forza Horizon, for example, will have a 60 frames mode on the X. You know, you'll get the best version of all the games. That's your X. That's what your X gives you. But I mean, and it can never be more than that because they have to work on all the systems. It's exactly the same problem the Pro has. You know, they can't. It's a strange thing. This intercool generation we've got. It's very, very strange. But you know, that's probably another reason why Phil's thinking about the future, because it would make it easier for him, wouldn't it, if everything was on the same piece of hardware again? It would make it much easier for the developers as well. So that, I think, is a wrap up at Xbox. I think we'll probably sit on it for a bit, digest it. You know, we'll digest all these conferences. We'll come back to them all when we do our big post wrap up next week at the weekend. But guys, we're back again soon. Me and Joel will be back tomorrow night discussing Bethesda, discussing Square Enix, and discussing Ubisoft tomorrow evening at around the same time, I would suspect. But yeah, lots more to go through because there'll be 3 whole shows to talk about. But I suspect even then, less games. I don't think they can put as many games into those 3 as we just had from Xbox. That was mad. That was so intense. I felt like I couldn't handle it almost at one point. I was like, God damn it, just talk about slides or something. Bring out financial projections like you used to. I miss those days. No, I don't. They were terrible. God, do you remember those days, Joel? Do you ever remember watching those conferences when like Sony especially were bad for it?
I'm quite surprised.
Sale projections.
I was quite surprised we didn't have any kind of numbers or tentative figures, but actually, Microsoft aren't doing that well. They're not going to talk about numbers, so.
No, none of them do it anymore. None of them do it, do they? No. It's just not cool. It's just not cool. So yeah, back tomorrow evening. 3 more conferences to talk about. Thank you very much for listening and watching. It's been a long evening, and I haven't even finished yet. So good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.